of all, this class is Leuni Shmat Yerachmiel Daniel Ben Gedalia. Also, we have a great announcement. On November 6th, we are doing a class in Carnegie Hall. Yeah, with Baruch Hashem. With Rabbi Arush. So the first Torah class in Carnegie Hall. So you could, just to show you the impact, you should just see the impact, the fact that we can get to a place like Carnegie Hall. You should see the impact of how many people are getting from the classes. So try to go all in. All I can tell you is go all in. The stuff works. Reb Nachman's stuff works. It's not my stuff. I'm just trying to make it change the language. I want you to just try to have an open heart today. If you feel resistance, it's probably telling you what you need to do. So it's okay that a good class is where people should walk outside a little bothered. Like you should sober up a little bit. You know, like, whoa. You can't be too happy all the time. You can't be happy, but it's good to have a little bit where, oh my God, you know what? I need to take some action. Maybe I'm not doing that right. Because life, you're not going to get anything by chance. You're going to get it by change. And it's very, very important to understand that. So again, I'm very much into conversions. I like to see new singles at events. I don't want to see the same people. I'm very much into conversions. So sometimes my style is a little bit Moroccan, but don't take it personal. But my job is conversions. And just having up, maybe you guys never heard of me before. I have a podcast, a pretty popular podcast. And all I'm doing is giving you the Scorpio version of what I would tell myself in your position. Okay? I guarantee you there is a formula to this. I know it sounds sometimes, I've been single so long, I've been doing this so long, I've been doing that. Get rid of the despair, get rid of it. You're just doing it the wrong way. That's a very, very important message. Don't think, oh, I was doing it, it's impossible. That's all in your head. So I don't want you to, today, our job is not to just visualize ourselves down the aisle, etc. I want you to visualize yourself doing the work to get you down the aisle. That's the difference. Too many of us were in La La Land, to be honest with you. We're in La La Land. You're not going to just visualize your marriage without doing the work. It's not going to happen. It's like me imagining, you know, I'm writing a book now, me imagining New York Times bestseller without writing the book. It's not going to happen. So I want you today to visualize what small things we could do to try to get more attraction and less chasing. Believe it or not, it's supposed to come to you. Yes, you're supposed to make an effort, no question. But I want you to treat it today more on a consciousness level. Whether you're religious, whether you're not religious, whether you're practicing or not, at the end of the day, energy is energy. Consciousness is consciousness. And this is why, later on in the class, I handed out a pamphlet, and I just want you to know the difference between infatuation and love. Okay? Between your roommate and your soulmate. We'll practice that later. But what some of us call love is really, really infatuation. So I know we've all had a couple of drinks, but we want to sober up. And at the end of the day, we got to convert, right? It's all about converting. You guys are not here just to hang out. We imagine, right? Okay, so just understand that. I want you to know the difference. And it's the same thing in life. Nobody wants to buy from the pushy salesman. We agree? Why? Because he's desperate. This is not what we want. We want to get out of that with a proper consciousness. Very, very, very important to understand that. Do we have enough experience? I don't know. I think we've been doing classes for 6 years. I get invitations pretty much daily, and people who do it, they get the work. But again, it takes work. It takes a lot of work. But I want you to visualize yourself tonight. Start the visualization, because in this holiday of Elul, we have to redeem the imagination. We have to visualize what we want, not what we don't want. And this is what happens when we live in fear. We're pretty much focusing on what's not going to happen instead of what we want to happen. But in order to get that, we need to to visualize ourselves doing the work. People hit targets, but they don't always hit deadlines, but they don't always hit. these ambitious goals because they recognize, well, I tried, it's not working. So let's focus on small wins. We don't want to do anything drastic, but we're going to try to get you guys to do small wins tonight. So that's the first thing. The imagination, your imagination is very powerful. It can work for you or it can work against you. The minute fear begins, you're automatically going to focus on the worst case scenario. I had a class today by a quote by, I believe, Joseph Campbell, I forgot his name, but he said a very powerful, Joseph Newton, he said a very powerful. He says, the reason why people are lonely is because they build walls instead of bridges. Very deep line. When we have fear, when we're not sure of ourselves, when we're walking around with unresolved stuff, unresolved relationships, what we do when things get really close, we put up a wall and we say, oh, not religious enough, not this enough, not that enough, not this enough, etc. But when we trust, we start building bridges. And if you look at any war, the first thing they do is knock out the bridges. So this is where tonight I want you to focus on breaking the walls and building bridges. That's the difference when you start embracing trust. If you're still embracing, I don't care how religious you are. If you live in fear, you live in fear. That doesn't mean because you're religious you're getting any results. What we need is faith and we need spirituality. Joy, that is real emunah. Because you can have religion but be judgmental and have no trust in God, and it's just robotic. So what we want to really do is focus on what's happening in our life, what kind of resistance, how do we get the attraction to the better place. I'm going to give it to you very straight but very practical, because it is practical, but it does require daily work. I'll tell you why. Because any of you that have been married, you're going to see, oh my God, this is a lot of work. Yes. Doesn't mean because you get married, that's it, it's finished. No, that's a whole different, round two is now. That's round two. And pretty much what you're going to end up going to counseling for in marriage is pretty much telling you what you need to do before you get married. Pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much what the counselor tells you. Oh, by the way, you got to do this, this, this. So that could be why our Creator sometimes is not giving us what we want, because He wants us to really look inward. Because at the end of the day, again, one thing is for you not to be happy and say, I need somebody else to complete me to be happy. It's enough that you're not happy, now you got to take somebody down with you. So ultimately, heaven doesn't want to punish two people. One person's okay, but why should two people get affected by this? So this is very important, where simcha and emunah, faith, is very important, the attitude you come into the relationship. You have to fix your own world. And when you do that, you're no longer codependent, needy, etc. Very important. That's why the hardest, if Reb Nachman told us black and white, that the hardest thing in life is to be happy, there's a reason why he said it. Because there's a lot of work to be happy. It just doesn't come to you. It's a lot of work, a lot of focusing, a lot of refocusing, a lot of work on your self-esteem. So just be prepared that if you ask anybody who has a successful marriage, they will tell you the same thing. Wow, I never thought I would have to put so much work. If they're successful. If it's not so successful, they're checked out. But anybody who has any kind of success in marriage, they'll tell you it was a lot more work than they thought it would be. And they're absolutely right. Why? Why does our Creator make us go through these hoops? It's because He wants to make you into a co-creator, and the way you become a co-creator is by becoming a giver, pretty much. So ultimately, your soul, when you become a giver, you're actually imitating your Creator. This is why there's a Gemara that says, one who hates gifts lives. You shouldn't really walk around with all these expectations. You should really walk into a relationship to say, where can I give? Where can I give? Not where can I get? Because what happens when you try to just come in to get, you end up getting expectations. David Hawkins says it beautifully. He says, when we put pressure on other people in order to get what we want, they automatically resist. Pretty much. When you start creating expectations, Rav Dressler, he said it when demands begin, love departs. That's the formula. The more expectations you come with, the less likely you will have a great marriage or whether or not that relationship will flourish. Now, why am I walking around with so many expectations? Because I'm in the wrong row. I'm in the wrong row. So think about that concept. We don't want to come to what can we get out of it? We want to come, where can we give? Why? Because we want to mimic our Creator. Ultimately, you want to be in your soul state. Soul state, you're in a soul state, you're a giver. Ego state is all about, what can I get out of this? He's got a nice car, she's good looking, etc. What am I getting out of this? You're not going to attract trophies like that, I promise you. And this is where you'll see the difference between infatuation and love. Big difference on an energetic level, etc. Again, this is definitely the Miami version, because it's very easy to fall in love, not too easy to stand in love. I think LA still has worse than Miami on 3 months. I think Miami's longer. Delayed. So that's another thing where Miami's hard to focus. We have it too good here, I think. A good governor, good weather. You get a little disfocused here in Miami. It's very easy to get disfocused here. You understand? Miami, you start coming into Miami, the focus is gone. MIA. Focus is MIA, literally. They leave it at the airport. So this is where we have to really work on this. It's very important in Elul. What is our job in Elul? The job in Elul is to finish strong. Anybody can have a New Year's resolution. Doesn't take a genius to have a New Year's resolution. But who has completed their New Year's resolution? Think about that. When you get inspiration, you normally get inspiration from above. Inspiration comes from above. It's given to you, right? A relationship will start. You start meeting somebody super nice. Things are moving. And then what happens? It's taken away from you. Now you have to finish it. So we're thinking, and this is a very common question, what's happening? The first 2-3 months, everything was great, and now it's like flat. You have to build the inspiration now. Should you stop working out because you don't feel inspired like you did in the first 2 weeks? No. This is an area where people get very confused. If there's no drop in that level, that means, remember, God has to give you the green light at least to get. Otherwise, you would never even go on the date. But how are we so inspired in the beginning and next thing you know, it flattens out? Why is that happening? You ever think about that? Why do so many people create New Year's resolutions, but at the end of the day, 5-10% finish them? Elul is about finishing strong. You're finishing strong. So this is where I need you to understand. It's okay if you're not seeing butterflies on every single date. It's not realistic. That's not marriage. It's not realistic. So sometimes there are expectations of, I need to feel it. No, you need to make it happen. Remember, the beginning is given to you by heaven. It's a PPO loan, PPE loan, that's it. It's a free loan. Everybody gets it. Everybody gets one. But now, I have to keep it going. And this is where I've seen major confusion. People start strong. I don't know, I'm not feeling it. Well, what are you supposed to feel? I mean, what are you supposed to feel? What are you supposed to feel? You have to make it work. You have to reignite the fire. Do you not think you're going to have to reignite the fire married? Do you not think you're going to have to reignite the fire? Absolutely. How many romance books are about reigniting the fire? Every other book is about reigniting the fire. So your Creator's teaching you when you're single, it's okay. Don't expect consistent light. It's not possible. Shh. Don't expect consistent light. Because in order to get the rose in life, you have to deal with thorns. That's what the Zohar says. There's nothing you could do about it. So it's okay to get that contraction of light, but that's where opportunities are made. Opportunities are not made in the light. Opportunities are made in contractions. So this is where I've seen a pattern, and again, I am only here to review patterns. How could you start so strong and next thing you know, it's over? Maybe there's a system in what you're expecting. Maybe you're expecting that this is the way it should always be. It's not true. Our Creator tells us very simple. You're either running or you're returning. And the reason why I'm trying to create such an audience, because I want people to be on the same page, because if you're both on the same page and you have a bad date, doesn't mean the relationship's over. Okay, you have a little darkness. Yearn. What do we do when we have darkness in life? We yearn to get the light back. What do you do when your relationship is off? You yearn to get the relationship back, to get that spark. But the second spark, and to get the flow going, is not from heaven. That is from below. So this is where you hear this concept all the time. The hottest starts, have the coldest ends. Starts have the coldest ends. Just like you see a marathon, the guy's not running 100 miles per hour because he knows it's a marathon. He has to, little by little, contract the light. Contract the light. Very important concept. Because sometimes, again, we're not here to talk about the past. We're here to reflect on it. And sometimes people did have a perfect soulmate, perfect person. But they were too unrealistic, expecting that light to be on all the time without paying the electricity bill. It's not happening. I hate to tell it to you. It's a very important message to understand that. Finishing is up to you. Starting is sent to you from heaven. So start rethinking the dating stuff. Cool off the impulses in the beginning. If you have somebody that is good, somebody that has, build strategy. Don't just, flip from one. That's the problem today is we're not earning the dates too much. We're just flipping a couple laps, you get a date. You didn't earn it. Back then, people used to have to pray for it. They used to have met somebody. It was not 2 seconds later. Too much instant gratification today. And that's the system of the world today. What are you going to do? There's way too many things on the menu sometimes. You go to very good restaurants, 4 or 5 things on the menu. This is the chef special. You don't like it? Go to Denny's. Go somewhere else. That's it. That's the menu. That's the menu. That's what we specialize in. You don't like it? Go somewhere else. Again, nothing against whatever restaurants. I'm just telling you. Just explaining to you. It's very important to explain because I see this all the time. Too many people they start strong and the finish is like, and there's no real reason, but we lost the spark. Welcome to life. You got to start it again. And that's by you. See, how do you start it again? Just like everything in life. Sometimes we fall out of business a little bit. You need that new light, that new energy. And that is what marriage will show you. That spark is you have to create it. You have to create it. So again, very important that you should understand that concept right away. Because what we see in the news, what we see in the media, what we see on TV, it's not that. It's the guy picking up the missing Louboutin on Beverly Hills Road. Who dropped it? No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. So this is why sometimes God has to break your heart to save your soul. Because when you have a broken heart sometimes, you look within, you're willing to change. Pain does amazing things for you. I hate to tell it to you. We have to have pain. When you go through pain and you handle pain well, you automatically come out a much better person. No question about it. If you don't handle pain correctly, then unfortunately, we stay in the past. That's the problem with pain. You're either going to come out better or you're going to come out worse. And the key element to make it better versus worse is called faith. Is the belief that it's all happening for your benefit. So relationships should be lessons. It should not be something where you never processed correctly and it became a projection. If your ex got you upset, doesn't mean the new guy has to take it. What did he do? It's pretty much what presidents do, don't they? They blame everything on the past president, right? Did not take responsibility, right? This guy's fault, that guy's fault. When's the last time you heard a president say, I'm responsible for this? Never heard it. That's why there's so much chaos. All you hear is past, future, past one, that day, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Where's that going to get you? Where's that going to get you? So it's very, very important. If we want, we could put the speakers in the back if you want. Maybe we can hear surround sound. Please. So again, very, very important. A prayer with a broken heart reaches heaven. So what we need to do with pain is we don't have to numb it. We don't have to suppress it. We don't have to That's the time where you cry out to your Creator. And when you cry out to your Creator with a broken heart, heavens are open. That's what it's there for. So start looking at pain also differently. Don't take it personal. Look at it as an opportunity. Again, easier to say than done. But I know there's no question everybody here is in some kind of pain. There's a sense of sometimes loneliness, etc. But use that pain. Don't transform, like we said before today. Transform the loneliness into an opportunity to be alone, to fix. How can I possibly fix something if I'm in a codependent relationship? I can't. Because my feedback is whether or not that person approves me or not. So you have to transform aloneness to aloneness. Because what happens in life is we get the same lesson in life until we pass it. Repeat that again. We get the same lesson in life until we pass it. It's pretty brutal. That means growth or the same lesson over and over again. Why is that happening all the time? You guys ever realize that? Why in the world does it keep on happening the same thing over and over? It's because your soul is actually creating it. Your higher self is creating the problem for the solution. It's pretty very deep to understand that. That's why I'm trying to explain to you that life is happening for you, not to you. It's very important that you shift that consciousness. Because if I don't see the same lesson as a favor from God, then I never get enough awareness that that's what I need to change. Otherwise, I would not get the awareness. How do I get the awareness? How in the world do I get the awareness if it's not the same exact test over and over again? Think about it. Why? It's to make it obvious. Because if you're not getting it on the first one, we got to get it in second. And believe me, I went through all this myself. I'm just telling you. We're very stubborn. We don't look. Our brains are not there to help us, unfortunately. We're very rational people. And we always say, why am I going through this? And who's causing it? That's the way we think. I mean, you know, it's a knee-jerk reaction. Nobody says, wow, what does my Creator want from me here? Maybe after the emotional storm is over, maybe you start thinking about it afterwards. But very few of us will think anything but why is it happening and who's the cause of it. It's the way we think. It's initial reaction. We're rational people. That's the way we think. Nothing we can do about it. So you have to, that's why you have to sometimes shut the noise in your head. Because remember, the intellect is not there to help you. It's rationalization, rationalization, and rationalization. What you have to do is you have to shut the head, shut the mind, and open up the heart. And that's where that's where the answers are. That's what you know what you need to do. And that involves prayer. You can't do this from an app. There's no prayer app. You have to activate the heart. You can't, Alexa can't do it for you. There's no app. That's it. You got to break your heart. You got to break the ego. Nobody can help you with this. I hate to tell you. Even if they tried it. Yes, meditation will calm your brain. It'll calm it. It'll calm the storm. But it doesn't transform you. Prayer transforms you. That's one of the reasons why I'm writing a book, which I want to have the the top tools, but ultimately, if you look at all these books, The Power of Now, Untethered Soul, it's just mindfulness, observation, but there's no prayer. Prayer is what's going to change you. Prayer changes your consciousness. And that's why I think it's needed. It's just these other books are great. They calm the mind, they make you feel better, they calm the ego, they make you relax, but what happens? Things come up again. It's an oil change. With prayer, you get a new car. You get a new car. You're a new person. That's the difference. This is why Reb Nachman says in lesson 9 that your financial situation and your marriage partner, the quality of it can be changed through prayer, because prayer changes you. So if you change, obviously you get different people. You meet different people practically. Practically. We've all known that. When we've had a spiritual awakening, you know, whether you call it Carl Jung synchronicity or hashkacha prati, you meet different people, right? We meet different people. Is it heaven sending me, or is it energy? Whatever you want to call it. You meet different people. It's the bottom line. Hashkacha prati is that when you change, the world changes for you. But remember, when we don't change, what are we doing? The list of expectations go up and up and up. I think they did a study where they asked guys, what are you looking for in a girl? The guy says 3 things. She's nice, kind, she has to be attractive. Girls, 35 things. She has to be this, 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 this. 35 things. So this is why I think that the new book that came out, The Surrendered Wife, is so popular. It's not saying surrender just, no, you have to actually be nice and appreciate people. That's called surrender, because ultimately the whole thing's a control. And I've recommended that book a lot to people, where it basically teaches you whatever you're doing is not working. Guys are very simple. I hate to tell it to you. And I've said this 1,000 times. All you have to do is appreciate them. They want to win, they want to score. All you have to say is, I appreciate you, I'm grateful for you, and what do you think he wants to do tomorrow? Do it again. It's not rocket science. But if you're telling him, you're not doing this for me, you're not doing this, the guy knows he has no way of winning. What is he going to do? He can't play in the game. He's going to walk out. He's going to walk out. He says, whatever I do, I can't win. So what is the point of somebody who's not grateful giving them more flowers or buying them a nicer purse? They're not grateful. So what's the difference? So the guy says, I can't win here rationally. Bye-bye. It's not going to work for me. So you have to appreciate them through speech, through compliments. Even if he doesn't deserve it, he still wants to win. And when you appreciate them, you don't have to tell them anything. They're going to go out of their way to be the greatest husbands because you told them already. But if you tell them everything that's wrong, what is the motive for them to win? So this is where, again, it's not so complicated. And I've told people, a lot of times I've given advice, and this is exactly what this book says, The Surrendered Wife. Be nice! That's it. It's not so complicated. It's not so complicated. And then you will create that. Because what happens is normally you're holding resentment. And when you're holding resentment, they feel the resentment. Energy is energy. But when you compliment them, of course you have to be the right wife, etc. But as a way, I can't tell you how many marriages I have personally helped only from one simple advice. Get the guy to win by himself. And the way you do that is just like you would tell a kid, you did so great on that. The next day, Mommy, look what I did. Oh, you did great again. It's momentum. But if you tell the kid, you did this wrong, what is in it for him? Why would he invest in something he can't win? This is exactly why people walk out of games in the third quarter. They can't win, they're getting blown out. Same thing. Keep the guys in the game. I mean, we're keeping it super straightforward here. You have to, girls need that appreciation. That's their Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is rooted in Eve's, in kavod, honor. And if they don't get respect, that sometimes they'll hold on to everything. let go and appreciate the 9 things that are going good and not focus on the one thing he did wrong. And if you emphasize on the one thing he did wrong and do not appreciate the 9 things, and what is the guy saying? Well, how about the 9 things I did right? Why are you focusing on the one? That is a big problem. That I've seen. So this is where, just because you're not feeling good doesn't mean it's your husband's fault or your date's fault. Go meditate, hug a tree, do something. But it can't be always, the husband cannot be the guy taking all the dumps. Mentally, they can't handle it. I'm just giving you a small advice, how that little advice has done so much for so many people. And why wouldn't we appreciate? Think about it. Why would you not focus on the 90% good and just focus on the 10%? In a soul state, when you're happy, would you focus on the 10% or 90%? That means if you're feeling good about yourself and you have an employee, wouldn't you compliment him on the 90% and not focus on the 10% he's doing wrong? Only when you're irritated, the 10% blocks the 90%. And that is Rab Nachman's famous Torah called Azamra, where you have to turn the expectations and resentment into appreciation. Remember, this is going to happen to you when you're dating, when you're married. Practice when you're dating. Creator of the world, let me only see the good in my spouse. Because remember, there's a concept that if we see ugliness in other people, it's teaching us that's also something that we're holding into ourselves. The Baal Shem Tov says this. Because if you really were in a higher state of consciousness, if you saw something ugly in another person, number one, it wouldn't bother you. Number two, you would pray for them. What would get you more results? Praying for them or resenting them and expecting them to change? So just think about those things. I can only tell you from my 30,000 hours of his Bodhidut, if that is not long enough. That is where you get everything. You get clarity. When you pray, you get clarity. You're like, what in the world was I thinking? I was actually trying to improve this relationship by holding resentment. What am I thinking about? Like, what were you expecting to have? What were you expecting? What were you expecting to solve the problem in an ego state? What in the world were you expecting? So prayer, oh, you're right. You flip the switch, appreciate them, and they change. That's what energy does. It's an unbelievable concept. And this is where Rab Nachman says that prayer renews your energy. So practically, you have to understand something. We are not told, if you go to a normal synagogue today, if you go to a normal religious experience, you're not really told to talk to God. It's not the number one thing on their minds right now. Talk to God so you can change. It hurts me. It's very sad because you see, think about practically the people you're going to synagogue on Friday night. Just think about practically how many of them have changed. We go to a 10-year New Year's 10-year reunion. What are you looking at? What are you doing? 10 years. What did you do with your life? 10 years. So what bothers me is that this is not an emphasis so much. Chassidus teaches us that this is everything. Because you can't change. You cannot be a grateful person unless you pray for it. Because we have an ego and we have a Yetzer Hara showing you what's not working in your life and everything that's not working in your life. So when Rabbi Rush tells you, you want to fix your marriage, and I saw this in my own house. Rabbi, my marriage is bad. First he asked him, are you Moroccan? Take it easy. Are you Persian? Be more generous. He gave him a little, don't be so cheap. He gave him a little, and then he told them, spend 30 minutes a day only seeing good points in your wife. Spend 30 minutes a day to the woman only seeing good in your spouse. Rabbi, but she does this. Spend 30 minutes a day. Spend 30 minutes a day. Let me ask you a question, an obvious question. What does a therapist do? Practically tell you. Do you appreciate your spouse? Do you do this? pretty much the same thing, ultimately, what you would do in a good state, you would do this. You understand? If you are happy yourself, you go there and lift the person up. If you are not happy, you're looking for them to lift you up. And now that's a condition. If it happens, if it doesn't, what am I going to do? Check out? So when you get married, when you're already dating, you already have this mindset, you're going to get massive results. Because you're going to appreciate. And whatever you appreciate, appreciates. So where you start the visualization is you have to start visualizing yourself already appreciating. Do 20 minutes of gratitude every day. Because you're going to be practicing gratitude when you start dating and when you're married. You think you're going to have any success without practicing gratitude? It's not possible. And that is the number one, I would say, resentment is the number one marriage killer. I would say. It's the number one issue where we don't like to deal with things. Not only do we not like to deal with things, but we don't even have a coping mechanism to do it. We don't even have a mechanism to do it. We don't even have prayer. We don't have there's no direction. There's no direction. And this is where David Hawkins, on an energetics level, says the exact same thing as the Baal Shem Tov. We block receiving what we want from others by our expectations or resentments. Amazing. You're actually blocking it. The salesman will never make the sale unless he leaves the customer alone and gives him space. The person pressuring you, you got to get married. We got to get married tomorrow. There's no way you're committing to that person. Because people want what they can have, not what they could. So when they're under pressure, it actually pushes them away. Pushes them away. So this is where I'm not telling you, yes, you have a time clock, I get it. But you fear, pushiness, all of this, you have to cancel these systems out completely. Completely. And then they're going to blame you, why did I marry you? You rushed me into it. You understand? You can't win it either way. Either way, you can't win anyway. I'm just trying to explain to you. You have to go into a relationship with trust. If that is not the main emotion, if that is not the consciousness, you're not going to get the results you're going to get. You're going to get clinginess, possessiveness, jealousness, accusation, CSI Miami. Where are you? Where you been? Who are you talking to? Etc. Where's the last time you did? Give me a urine. All kinds of stuff. That's what it's going to look like. And we start when we don't trust ourselves and we don't believe we're worthy of receiving. We start putting that energy out there. I don't think it's going to work out. And who do you think picks up on that energy? The person. The other person picks up on that energy, and then they start having doubts. And now two people have doubts. Sei gesund. Bye-bye. Just a matter of time. Having bitachon and trust in God is not just something, oh, it's nice to have, cute. It's cute to listen to a class on bitachon. Because without that, you're going to just be stuck with fear. And I guarantee you that is the consciousness of the world. The majority of people are just living in survival, protection. They're not going into growth and power. They're not going into it. Number one, because they haven't prayed to get there. You need a lot of prayer to get there. And second, it's just our minds are there to protect us. So this is where you really, really need to understand this. I can't tell you. Once you have trust, then, of course, if you want to be more spiritual, let's keep Shabbat, the person will trust you. You understand? Once you have the trust of the other person, it's much easier to now integrate more things into the marriage. But if you don't have that aspect, anything you're going to try to push, you're going to say, well, why are you forcing me to do this? How many times do we hear this? Why are you forcing me into this? Why are you forcing me into this? Why are you forcing me into this? All the time. You think people are going to do something if they're forced? No way. Why? Because they said, well, if I do it one time, now I'm going to get stuck. So they pull away. So I'm just showing you from my own experience. Without this concept of trust and appreciation, there's not, we can visualize ourselves going to another party and another party. It's wonderful, the visualization, but you're not going to get any results. You're only going to get results when you transform yourself. Is it daily work? Yes. But you will be so happy that you have a mechanism on how to change. Yeah, it's an unbelievable thing where I can have a situation where I have resentment the night before. I'll wake up, I'll let it go, I'll shift to appreciation, and then all of a sudden I'll see the relationship now go in the right direction. I'm like, wow, I'm the problem and I'm the solution. What an unbelievable, you feel free. You're no longer waiting on other people to feel nice or nothing, because how can I expect that person to send that energy if I'm sending him that energy? So this is where, again, we block what we want to receive, we actually block it by forcing people into it. Just the same way as our parents tells us, you have to go to show, you have to do this. Where do I run to? You feel like you're forced, but if it's done with love, you don't have to tell them anything. They're going to copy you. They're going to copy you. If you look at this chart here, put it on your refrigerator. This is to be taken with you. Correct. Fold it, put it in your purse, or take a picture of it. It's very, very important. When you are in a healthy relationship and there's trust, what happens? The focus is on the self. Instead of the ego, it's the spirit. Instead of the origin, animal instinct, spiritual state. Intention is not to mate or get. It's to bond and enjoy. If your mind is, I have to get with this person, you're already in La La Land already. It's already animalistic. That's not going to be one that's going to stand. So if you see desires, again, guys have their own issues. But the more we desire that area, the more people have want nothing to do with you. This is why I spoke about the 40-day challenge, that you need to walk in there with spiritual. Women can feel exactly what you're watching, everything about you. They feel it. They feel everything. They feel it. As long as she has a little bit of tuning, she has 5 channels on her program, she could feel it. They feel the energy. So this is why when you change your relationship with God, He changes the relationship with people. And it's not because when you have chen, people are attracted to you. But when you have, unfortunately, if your intention is to mate or get, they will see that and they will feel it. And they're just going to go the other way. So the same thing. That's an area also that has to be rectified. We don't want to get into that. I mean, that's a whole different chapter. I could be here till 1 o'clock in the morning. But we're not going to get into that world. We have enough classes. But you know what I mean. Cool off the impulses, heat up your vision. If you want to marry your wife, you have to cool off your impulses and heat up. Very rarely do you get the impulse and the wife at the same time. Very rarely. Unless you're really rich. That could be a possibility. But otherwise, whether it lasts or not is a different story. Your emotions, your hormones. You're thinking, oh my God, I feel in love. No, it's nothing but adrenaline. Versus endorphins. Endorphins is love. So chemically, your body's producing a completely different experience when you're in love. And what you think is endorphins, no, it's really adrenaline. It's a chase. It's like somebody telling you, I feel so many endorphins when I'm chasing heroin. No, you feel adrenaline. It's craving. The same thing. Your stability. The other person should make you better. It should be enhanced. But if the other person is making you worse, then you know you're in a relationship. It's not a healthy relationship. It's a relationship where the intention is to get. Look at the energy level, 145 versus 500. The energy level of a relationship, 500, that means there's love. The energy changes there. I'm not telling you it's okay to have an occasional fight. It's okay, it's normal. But the basis of the energy in the relationship should feel better. It shouldn't be up like the stock market. You know, new highs and new lows. That means there's too much instability. The same thing, you're emotional. If you're fearful, frantic, it's not a good relationship. Description. addiction, craving, versus content. Once you're craving love, that's already, anytime you're craving, you're not in love. It's infatuation. This is why we have to know the difference. The same thing. Your judgment is impaired instead of improved. Your intention is to possess, capture, versus I want to be with that person. You don't own them, but some people act like they do. Right? We've all been in a relationship where that person's insecure. It's horrific. You feel like they're owning you. So that's how you know, in a conscious level, that person's on a higher, because love creates space. When you love somebody, you give them space. You're not suffocating them, right? Yes or no? Would you want space also? Or do you want to be accused of everything that you're doing wrong? No, you would give that person, you trust. Trust, release. Lack of trust, capture, own, control, possess. You don't want that. The same thing, emotional. If there's major anxiety versus gratitude, something's off. Something's off. This is why any relationship, you have to look at it consciously. What is the level of energy of both of us in here? And look at the chart and compare. And if you see that it's way too much to the left, it's a roommate. If you see more to the right, it's a soulmate. Pretty much. It's that simple. That's how you know this is going to last. Before you invest a lot of energy into it, just see where you're fitting in. I thought this was amazing because it tells you black and white. Because when you're in love, you don't own people. It's a different relationship. It's not nervous. Okay, the Gemara says love has jealousy, but it's not where it's it's a person's you own them, for God's sake, you know. So it's very, very important to understand that. So this is where look and ask the person if that person has not resolved past issues, what do you think you're going to get? Same thing. How do you resolve past issues? Emunah and prayer. So as much as, I'm not into this Emunah thing, I'm not into this prayer thing, how in the world are you going to change? How in the world are you going to change? How in the world are you going to change? That's the question I have for people. How in the world are you going to change? You're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to. You could read languages and books and loves, romance. That's intellectual. You have to bring it down into your heart. When it brings it down into your heart, then you are a changed person. Happiness is not a mind thing. It's a feeling. When I'm happy, I feel grateful. It's a feeling. I see everything around me. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the smallest things. But if I'm trying to tell people, you should just be happy, they don't understand. What do you mean? How can I be happy? I don't understand what that is. Because they have not brought it down to the heart. Rabbi Nachman is exactly what he did. He brought these teachings from heaven to earth. Because otherwise, they're just in heaven. What do you think these teachings are for? These are teachings to be brought. It should be a feeling of love. When somebody loves you, you feel the energy. You feel the energy. So this is why you can get anybody, and I promise you, you're not guaranteed that person's not going to change. So at least if you can have a system where you yourself can find a way to always see the good points in that person and always appreciate, that person can have an off week, you can have this, but you're going to change them from your energy. You could change somebody from your energy. It's exactly what Reb Nachman tells us. By seeing the good in people, you have the power to change that person. This is exactly what David Hawkins is telling you. This is exactly what all modern psychology books are telling you. But how do I get there? First, I have to start with myself. I have to see the good in me. If I see the good in me, I can see the good in you. If I don't see the good in me, I can't see the good in you. You treat people the way you feel about yourself. So you could see how much this is like the elephant in the room that is not dealt with. And if we keep on swiping, we keep on asking for more dates, and we don't change ourselves on a conscious level, pretty much you're going to get what you've always gotten. And if you do get the person, you do get married, doesn't mean it's going to work out. I'm telling you here something where it's going to work out for good because we have the right tools. This is exactly what Reb Nachman is telling us here. So I don't want to give you guys too much information. I think the buzz already went out a little bit. But you have to start today. What I would recommend to you is if you don't have a gratitude journal, start one. Start practicing gratitude. Start practicing, walk around and say to yourself, today I'm going to walk around and see 40 good things in people today. Because this is practice. And as you start seeing good, even when you have a negative thought about somebody, it's going to be like, whoa, why am I thinking that? It will bother you that you have a negative thought about somebody. But when you're going through the day and you can't see the good in anybody, it's because you're holding that energy. You're bringing that energy into a relationship, and that relationship, all you're doing is giving that person more baggage. And that's why it will not work out. Because in order for things to work out, it needs a divine blessing. And in order to get divine blessing, you have to imitate the divine. And how do we imitate the divine? By becoming givers. By understanding people, not judging them. By trusting them. That is how you imitate the divine. Our Creator, every time you make a mistake, does He judge you? No. He's patient with you. He gives you time to reflect. He gives you time to fix it. He's not striking you with lightning every single time you make a mistake. He gives you patience. The same thing. It's very easy. If you want to be in your soul state, this is not a Jamba Juice. This is not going to Equinox and going to Soul Cycle. This is imitating your Creator. That is how you get into a soul state. It's not a bumper sticker. It's working on yourself so you could be exactly like God and see only the good in people. And if there is something wrong, you go there, you pray for them, you reflect, and that is, when you do this, you're a different person. Everything will flourish. But when we don't do this, we think the situation is rationally. It's the day. There's no girls in Miami. There's no guys. You tell me this, it's like you're wasting both of our times, to be honest with you. But why am I not attracting? Why am I so stingy with my appreciation? Why are you so stingy? Give it out. Stop being stingy. Give it out. And you're going to get what you give. We get in life what we give. I can only tell you this from deep, deep prayer. I was not taught this, but I've recognized from my own mistakes. Why do I days I have better days than other? Very simple. Those days I appreciated. Those days I had strong days. Days where my energy's gone. This problem, that problem. I see the difference in energy. See, the difference is when you feel good, you know what feeling good is. So on an energetic level, when you're in a feeling good and you're in a positive energy, you're like, why am I giving this energy away? Where is it going? Why am I not feeling my best self? This is why we feel so great when we give charity. Why do we feel so great when we give charity? We feel so good when we give. It's because that is exactly what your soul is telling you to do. May I help us that we should start this Rosh Hashanah by becoming givers and all should flourish.